Eric, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good. We're still in lockdown, so I'm wearing the cap. My hair is a mess.
Hey, this is not much better. This is
No, that's cool, man.
I'm kind of letting it go free. This is vacation hair right here.
So, thank you for saying yes for my invitation.
Oh yeah, of course. Hey, hold on one second. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the fastest Wi-Fi. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right. Good to go. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. So, can you introduce yourself for the Taiwanese coaches?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Rett Larson. I am currently the strength coach for the women's German national volleyball team. Before that, but I've only been in that role for a couple of months now, just this year. Before that, I was with the Dutch, the Netherlands women's volleyball team. And before that, I was with the Chinese women's volleyball team for like 4 years. I was with the Dutch for 2 years. But I've only been a volleyball guy for the last 7 years or so. Before that, I worked in all sports, and I worked in China for 7 years. Only the last 3 were with volleyball. I worked for the London Olympics. I was with diving and table tennis and rowing and judo. So a bunch of the kind of their gold medal factory sports. And I was with a small team when I was working with Exos, which was athletes performance back in the day. And so I was with Exos for like 5 or so years. And before that, I spent like 12 years in the United States working with athletes. But I got my start working with a lot of young athletes. Like I specialized for a while in training kind of 8-year-olds to 18-year-olds, which I think was really, really important for my coach development. Like I learned things about controlling groups of athletes. I learned things about how to keep kids smiling and motivated, but sweaty as hell. And I think that it's that experience more than all my elite experience with elite athletes. That's the stuff I draw on all the time. I really see so many coaches that I think make the jump to elite athletes maybe too quickly. And, they lose out on some of that group control that I'm so happy that I got when I was with a bunch of young kids and developing my coaching eye with all the different problems that you see in kids, like developing my eye for being able to look at the way a kid accelerates and try to take out the biggest thing that's making them slow, or watch a kid jump and try to figure out the cue I can give them that will make the most difference. All that is so much easier, I guess, with kids, but just the volume of kids coming through, you get really good at that stuff. And it's the same brain power that I'm using every day with elite athletes. And so I was with a company called Velocity Sports Performance doing that for 10, 12 years. I actually got my start in coaching, working. I was just super lucky. I got to work with the Indiana Pacers my first week as a private personal trainer. It was ridiculous. Like I was the only one in my gym that had the NSCA CSCS. So when the Pacers came to look for somebody to train their superstar athletes, I was the lowest man on the totem pole. I'd seriously been at work for 2 days. I had one client, and all of a sudden my second client was Jermaine O'Neal, who ended up being like an all-star and got the MVP's Most Improved Player award that year. And that was my second day ever as being a coach. So I'm really fucking lucky is what I'm trying to tell you. Like a little bit of luck goes a long way. But yeah, that's kind of the story. That's where I am right now. I don't know why. But for whatever reason, I've been a volleyball guy, a women's volleyball guy for like 5 years. I don't know when that will end, but at some point I'll do something else.
Good. You mentioned that you spend a lot of time in training like younger athletes, like 8 to 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that I think like Coach Boo Schexnayder kind of have the same experience.
Yeah. Well, I actually, at Velocity, Boo and my mentor, Lauren Seagrave, worked together at LSU for a while. So we come from the exact same, like my basic philosophy and Boo would be very closely aligned.
Okay. So like except for the coach's eye, what do you get most from the younger athletes?
Yeah. All right. A couple of things. So like I said, the coaching eye is big. The second thing is being able to control groups of 5, like keep like 12, 10-year-olds motivated, not sitting around, making sure they learn something in every session. Like make sure that when they go run out to see their mom, and this is even for like 16-year-olds trying to make the high school football team. Like my goal is that if somebody asked them, how was practice today, they would be like, Mom, I've been running the wrong way. Listen to what dorsiflexion does to you. Like Dad's been telling me to run on my toes for years. Guess what? Dad's an idiot. Let me tell you about how this works. Like I need them. I want to create, this little army of future strength and conditioning coaches or speed coaches. Like I want them getting smarter. And that being a goal was all I think has served me well, that I think I'm a pretty good educational coach. Like I'm really good at explaining why we're doing something, because I really wanted the buy-in, because I'm going to make some athletes do some weird looking shit sometimes. Some of these exercises don't feel like maximum velocity mechanics, but if I can explain it well, then I get buy-in and the athletes will try harder, because that's what I want. What I want is them freaking working their asses off, right?
Yeah.
You don't think this plyometric exercise really matters for you getting better at soccer, then maybe you're not going to give it the 100% that I need. So, I was constantly trying to win these kids over. I wanted to be their favorite coach. I worked with a team of coaches. I wanted to be everybody's favorite. So I also really had to work on my relationship building. Like I had to, like I want this kid begging his parents to invite me to his birthday party. Like, I know I'm doing my job well. I know I'm making them faster. I know I'm making them stronger and all that stuff. If I'm really doing my job well, parents are asking if I can come to birthday parties or a kid's graduation or to a basketball game, because that kid wants me there, because I've made that relationship. And I think all that time with younger athletes gave me some really valuable lessons around that kind of thing.
Okay. Thanks. So I'm going to jump into the next question about, like, I saw a lot of videos about you taking like the volleyball players to the pre-game warm-up.
Oh yeah.
Eric,
I see where this shit's going.
it's like a lot of different stuff, like dancing and like dancing. I don't know, a lot of movement. So
it gets a lot of publicity. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you program these kind of stuff? Did you let them like do it before? And what are the main things you're gonna be focusing on during the movement, during the pre-game warm-up?
Pre-game, right? And that's an important distinction. That the dancing stuff is generally something that I just throw in pre-game, and it is, well, let me give you a big overview, because that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I don't get to talk about this enough. The in volleyball, generally I have a very specific amount of time before competition that I warm the team up. Like, it is a stopwatch. From the moment we get on the court, it's like, okay, girls, you have 4 minutes to put on your shoes, and then Rett starts warm up, and I have exactly 11 and a half minutes, or whatever it is, depending on the team, but somewhere between 11 and 13 minutes on the dot to get that done. So as opposed to the way I feel about regular warm-up, where there can be, I love a ton of variety. I want to keep them guessing athletically. I want to push their limits. I want them to be uncomfortable. I want them to fail. Before games, it's a totally different mentality. And with the time constraint, it needs to be somewhat similar every time. They need to know what they're getting into. I don't want anyone feeling like an ass, 15 minutes before or half an hour before they have to go play Serbia. Like, I don't want them feeling like they're not a great athlete. So I want them to feel really confident. And so for that reason, it is the competition warm-up is kind of a slow build that way. We start what you see is the dancing and so it's got a lot of the social media companies have filmed me doing the warm-ups, and they are pretty much making a 2-minute video clip out of the last 20 seconds of my warm-up. They just watch like 7 of my warm-ups and take the last whatever minute of my warm-up and just splice it all together so it looks like we just danced the whole time, when in fact, of a 12-minute warm-up, the last maybe 45 seconds might involve a little dancing. But let me build to that. It would start like a lot of warm-ups. Like I with very low-level single joint exercises like heel-toe walks. But the girls will all know that we're going to start with a heel-toe walk, because I'm not going to take them into anything too rough right at the beginning. It's the first movement they're doing on the floor. So we're just kind of moving through ranges of motion with that. But I'm not just going to do a heel-toe walk. I'm going to add some sort of arm action to it. There I can be a little bit more flexible. There I can be a little bit more, change it up. Sometimes it's a backward arm circle. Sometimes we're swimming. Sometimes it's big, kind of like approach jump like arms. So they still have to pay attention. What I don't want is a bunch of zombies walking through warm-up, just knowing exactly what's coming next, and they don't even need me. They could just do it with they can just go through the whole thing themselves. Not the case. Then what the fuck are you paying me for, right? So I'll make them pay attention, because I'm going to switch things up a little bit. And so maybe we're doing 4 or 5 exercises that just work through some single joint, multi-joint, whatever ranges of motion, get the body temperature up just a little bit, make them stand on one foot. But while they're standing on one foot, they don't know what kind of various arm thing I'm going to make them do to kind of stay off balance. And from there, we'll roll down into some stretching, some things like that, some just basic multi-joint stretches. My favorite, like I have like a kind of this will never change. It's like the same progression of about 8 exercises that flow into each other. And then I give them all a minute to do whatever the hell they want. Like, there needs to be time for the girls that are like, hey, I can't go to war without doing like a scorpion exercise, an exercise that I don't maybe love personally. But for my elite athletes, if that's an exercise they think they need to be able to go into battle feeling good, then holy crap, do it, right? So yeah. I give them about a minute, 2 minutes to do whatever they want. Then I bring everybody back together, and we'll get together and do a couple of more stretches. And then we stand it up and we get to the fun part. And this is where we get the really dynamic. This is the last like 5 minutes where we go from low-level skipping to real, pop float skips. Again, I can change that up a little bit. We can do twisting skips. We can do lateral skips, but a skip will come. Some acceleration mechanics will come into it, where we start slowly building up. Like we'll do like 1 set at 75%. Then we'll do, and it always will go from like a linear movement to a lateral movement to a rotational movement, back to a linear, then a lateral, then a rotational, single leg, double leg, jumping. I'm trying to just get I'm trying to tick the box of every single movement that they might make during a volleyball game. Like we'll do approach jumps across. We'll do crossovers like they do to go block. But then after I've ticked the box a couple of times, we've gotten up to sprinting at 95% of their max speed for a good 4 steps or something like that. Then for that last 30 seconds, everyone gets hype. Everyone starts clapping. If we're in the main gym, this is when the fans start getting into it because they know what's coming. And I take them through what at Exos we would call kind of neural prep, like rapid response, which used to be it's just fast feet. It's like quick feet. Great. All right, whatever. Left, right, twist, 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 twist. 1 foot back and forth. It could, there was all these really simple kind of things that honestly, if an alien came down and was watching, they'd be like, oh, this looks like dancing. All right. But I just said, well, why do the same like 7 pre-accepted rapid response activities when anything will work to get their mind neurally prepped? I want to keep it. And so I realized that if I just do a little bit of this, twisting this, make them do a crossover, make them touch the ground, come up, and at the end I add like, we're going to cabbage patch for a second, or we're going to do a funky chicken, whatever it is, a stupid ass dance move. Everybody just laughed. They don't mind looking a little silly. The other team is watching us. They're distracted. The fans are getting into it. My team feels great. And I was like, all right, I don't mind personally looking like an ass doing that. But my team freaking loves it. They love not knowing what I'm going to do next. They know it's only going to last for like 3 seconds. They know that it's just stupid and fun. But in my mind, the athletes love it. I think it might give us a little slight advantage. I love that the other team is always distracted, also looking over at us. I love that it gets more fans excited about our team, that maybe they even come early to watch warm-ups, which happens sometimes. So the dancing thing, like I said, is the last 10-second rapid response that I'll do 4 times with each of my 4 little groups, because I'll have them line up in 4s so they get enough rest between each interval. And yeah, I'm just, I'm an idiot. And I love to dance, and I have I'm a terrible dancer, but I know 100 different bad dance moves. And so, if I can use that to be a little bit different and to distract some of the other team, and the athletes freaking love it, then great. And I think that at some point, I think coaches, it's not a terrible look to just be a little different sometimes. Like, think, warm-ups, what do we really need in a warm-up? Like, why does the rapid response have to be fast feet? Why not dance?
Good. You described the warm-up the way that I got interested. Yeah, I saw the whole process.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I'm super proud I'm honestly really proud of my competition warm-up. I spend a ton of time thinking about it and tweaking it, and I prepare for it every time. Like, the girls might think I'm making it up off the top of my head, but I'm very aware of what I've done the last week, so I don't want to repeat it. Like, if I made karaoke reaction last time, maybe it's just straight up, let's try to go straight across, and I'll make a lateral skip reactive this time, where they have to watch me and I make them do stuff. But I want their full attention. I want their brain completely turned on. And I find that when I look over at the other side of the net and another team is just maybe letting their athletes warm up on their own, which even at the elite level happens a ton. The strength will say, like, hey, you guys then they'll just jog around in a circle. Everybody will sit down. Everybody does their own stretches. But I don't see much neural engagement. I don't see much of that fire. And I know during the warm-ups we do, there's a lot of that.
So basically what you're saying is, although it's the same principle, the boxes you need to check it, but maybe different movement every week, every time. So they can be more focused and more hyped up.
Right. And it's nothing that's going to I'm never going to show them something completely different that they're going to be like, oh man, how do I do a lateral skip with a backward arm circle? I'm going to look like an idiot. The fans will look like we've done all these exercises before. And almost 85% of my competition warm-up is the same every time. There's just this 15% that I will just add a little bit of something different to, so they always have to pay attention.
Good. So you mentioned about connecting with athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you connect with different athletes and to let every athlete to like you?
Ooh, that's tough. I'd hope my track record's pretty good on this. So I think when it comes to getting people to like you, that it's not different than when, if I were to go to a dinner party and LeBron James were there, or if I went to a bar and Tom Cruise was there, my one mission at these 2 places would be to make Tom Cruise and LeBron James think that I would be the best friend they could ever have. I want to charm the shit out of them. I want them to love me, right? And so I would just, same thing if I'm flirting with a girl at a bar. I want to be as interesting and charming and inquisitive about what they like and what they're into, and then I'm storing that in my memory to see if I have a good story about that that would be funny, that might make me look bad, like it was something that's still self-deprecating. I think an underrated, when it comes to building relationships, I think that being funny is something. I think having a great sense of humor is really important. I want to be somebody that the girls want to be around, like that my athletes really, like when I sit down with them at lunch, I want them to be excited about me sitting down because I'm a great storyteller and they know that I'm going to make lunch fun. Right. I think that when it comes to that, and this is initially, right? Because I'm in a unique maybe position that I've joined a lot of teams in a bunch of different cultures, right? So I've gone from the USA to having to build relationships with a dozen Chinese teams to Holland to Germany. And this can be really tricky, but I have found that throughout it all, initially, everyone would love to invite for a beer after practice. Serves me really well. Did I cut out? Am I good? Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's good.
Yeah. And so kind of initially being just kind of, I don't know, relaxing, being not worrying about it too much, but just being very authentically interested in other people. When an athlete mentions that their second favorite sport is bowling, then, oh my God, let me see if I can find a funny thing about bowling that I can remember. And I don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget that this girl loves American country music, even though she's in Germany. I'm always kind of using my brain to remember that stuff so I don't forget these individual things about people. All right. Well, that's just basic relationship building. I think after that, when it comes to getting more in a professional level, that the key is being really transparent and honest. When I don't know anything about, if they come to me and they say, trying to think of a good example. If they say, hey, listen, I've been doing Pilates and I think that's really good for me. Then I might say, listen, I know what Pilates is. I've never been a Pilates practitioner. I've taken one Pilates course in my entire life, but I'm so happy it's working for you. If it would be helpful that I learned something, but I'm not going to blow smoke up their ass and tell them, oh, great, I know a lot about Pilates, or try to tear down what they're doing and tell them that, what I do is so much better. Oh my God, I'm with the Chinese team. We won the gold medal. You should listen to me. I think that I want the athletes to know that I have very low ego when it comes to when it comes to their body, because they know their bodies better than I do. And I let them know, hey, listen, I'm going to give you my best ideas for training volleyball players. And what's worked with me with the most volleyball players, the highest percentage effect. Here are the exercises that, in my experience, I've had the most success with in making volleyball players jump higher, not get hurt, whatever. But your body is yours. And if you're telling me that working on a Bosu ball or with a shake weight is what makes your body fit, then we're going to do that. And I'm just going to slowly start peppering in my stuff. And maybe by the end of this experience, you're hopefully maybe on, doing more of my stuff and less of your shake weight Bosu ball stuff. But I have had athletes that I love and I completely respect. I respect every strength coach they've had before me. And so I'm happy to let my ego go out the door. And I think the athletes really appreciate that about me, is that I'm not going to try to change everything that they think is making them a great volleyball player. And so I think that being honest and being really open to what they're doing and letting them know I'm into you. All I care about is that you jump higher and don't hurt anymore, or whatever it is. And I'm willing to do anything to get there, even if it's you saying, Rett, I think your program is garbage, which thankfully not many people do.
It sounds like there's a lot of deep conversation, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's I'll tell you a nice thing about the German team that no team I've ever worked for is that they actually all eat together. So every place I've ever worked, there's a coach's table and then there's all the athletes, right? It's the coach's table.
Usually.
But in Germany, everybody mixes. And it's really a wonderful thing because I get so much one-on-one time if we're somewhere early, or at least 1-on-3 time. And you get to, it's really accelerated how quickly that I've been able to really connect with the athletes is getting, not having to schedule appointments to have one-on-one time, because it really is essential to be able to sit down and understand, everything they think about strength and conditioning, because every girl has an opinion. I'm the first guy to go in and say, hey, listen, I love Bulgarian split squats. Like, I think that one of the most underutilized muscles or underutilized exercises for training volleyball players are rear foot elevated, or whatever you call them, Bulgarian split squats. I think every girl on this team should be able to do 60 kilos with their knee touching the ground. But if you come to me and say, hey, Rhett, I hate Bulgarian split squats. Every time I see them on a program, I begin to hate you a little bit. then
Yeah.
Hey, you don't do Bulgarian split squats anymore. I have 20 ways to make your glutes stronger. All right.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't hurt me. I get it. I have exercises I hate too. So let's work together. I'm not going to be a guy. I really want you to love the weight room. Like, I really want you to look forward to coming into the weight room, because it's a place that you love your program. It's a place where you feel like I have your best interest at heart. It's a place where we're going to have fun, where I'm going to celebrate the crap out of everything you do well, and, you know, where we compete a little bit. Like, I want that to be the vibe.
Good. So is there ever happened, like, maybe one of the athletes like stand against you and maybe got in a fight? Is that ever happened?
God, knock on wood. No, there isn't. I think it's because I let them know very early on that fighting me would just make them look bad, because it would beat me up so quickly that the whole team would hate them. That's what I am such a weakling. Like, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover, Eric. I'm not a fighter. So, but no, I think having this attitude of like, you know, it's almost like they say in like improv comedy, when you're trying to be funny with somebody else on stage, and there's this yes and thing. You know, when somebody comes at me with, Rhett, I have to be honest with you, I hate the way you do warm-ups. Like, no one's ever said that. But if someone said that to me, like, of course, my internal reaction is, oh, that hurts my ego. That hurts.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks to hear. Like, I'm very proud of my warm-ups. That really sucks to hear. They say, whatever you do during competition, I'm going to be off on the side doing my own. That would really, really hurt me. But I'm going to say, okay, I totally see where you're coming from. I get it. Let me know what I can do to facilitate. If you need equipment, I'm a yes and guy. I just want to make sure that my warm-up is looking so much fun that hopefully they start feeling left out and they come back to me. Like, I'm not going to fight anybody about it. It's not worth it. And who's to say they're not right, honestly? So you know, I'm not going to fight anybody. Luckily, no one has wanted to fight me about this stuff yet in a big way. I mean, there are people that have said, hey, Rhett, for that last part of warm up, like, I'm old. My body needs to ease into it a little bit more. Is it okay if I step out during that last part? I have had an athlete say that to me. And I was like, absolutely. You know, she's like, hey, right before, I need to be doing more foam rolling. Great. You can step out. That's what you need. You're a millionaire. You have a body you need to take care of. You do it. So.
Good. So instead of the athletes, how about the coaching staff? How do you let the coaching staff to trust what you do? Because I know you've been in China, right?
Right.
So I'm in Taiwan. So it's kind of like some of the times the coaching staff don't really believe what you are doing. How do you let the coaching staff like trust you?
That's a great question. And, you know, at some point, like, you hope that your reputation gets you. Like, the nice thing is, you do well with the team, then you kind of get this level of people are going to be like, Rhett, we know you can do your job. You go do it. But when I joined the Chinese team, you know, they don't know much about me, and I have to start slowly building that trust. So I'm glad you asked the question specifically about China, because that's a really unique situation. And there, I think the key is to add value as quickly as possible. So I want them to feel like that, you know, they hired a strength coach and they think they know what a strength coach is responsible for. And they think, okay, great, this guy will do this, this, and this. And I want to show up more I can do for them. So if they're used to a strength coach that just makes their athletes do jumping jacks and skips to warm up every day, I'm going to blow them away with the way that I design my pre-practice warm-ups. They're going to be so, like, I hope that they're going to be really happy that I ask them every week, hey, what's the biggest problem that you're seeing in practice right now? I saw that we worked a ton on blocking mechanics. Would it be helpful if every day this week I'm doing crossover mechanics during warm-up, and we're really working on their technique for this, but I'll resist it. I know that during our last practice, you were talking about how slow everybody is. What if I make my next 5 warm-ups look like speed sessions? Like, what if I say every single Thursday, I'm going to set up timing gates and we're going to all race to see who can run 10 meters the fastest? Would that help our team? Because if they're used to a strength coach that does a really, the same warm-up every single day, well, I'm not that strength coach. Like, I want to blow them away by how much value I add to every facet of what I do. If we have a team with shoulder injuries, then my warm-ups need to look like rehab, shoulder rehab. It needs to have Turkish get-ups and handstands, and it looks like a mini strength session. I could talk about the warm-up stuff forever, but, otherwise, like, I'm going to be the guy that is adding value wherever I can. I want to be the one that is constantly looking to upgrade what we're doing. So if it's nutrition, I'm the guy that's going to come and start making, with the Chinese team, one of the biggest problems was body fat. And they would never expect me to be the body fat guy necessarily. They have nutritionists, but their nutritionists were not good. They would just tell them to eat cookies all day. And so I came in, I'm like, okay, guess what? Last weekend I went out and bought a blender. I need you guys to get me spinach every day and bananas, and we're going to make green smoothies. And, that's not in my job description, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to upgrade. And so the staff hopefully starts to realize that I am going to take every, cool downs. Like, if you think that just having the girls sit around on foam rollers doing whatever foam rolling feels best is good, screw that. I'm about to create a cool down circuit over in the corner where the girls have to go from station to station doing cool down, doing soft tissue work that they don't like, right? But that's a big upgrade to the way you've been doing it, and I'm going to care about it. So, I'm going to bring my own equipment. Like, you don't just hire me. I own 3 K boxes because I really believe in, like, exaggerated eccentric exercises. I own like a jump mat. I own a smart speed laser, laser timing system. So I'm always measuring, speed and things like that. Like, I bring a lot with me as well. And so, I kind of like that being a differentiator to the way I do my work. I want it honestly, Eric, when I leave, I want them to be like, oh shit, we'll never find somebody like Rett. Well, we're going to have to go back to boring warm-ups, and that's, our same competition thing. And, I remember loving the K-box exercises, made my knee feel better than they ever have before, but I bet our new strength coach doesn't have 3 of them, like, I want it to hurt when I leave.
That's like great. So the mindset was like so great, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking the guy that has to interview for my job after I leave China, he has some big shoes to fill because I was doing a lot of work. I mean, I learned Mandarin. Is he going to learn? Can he coach in Chinese? Like, can he coach every single session in Chinese? Good luck, dude. Like, I want them to really, really value me. But it's work on my end to do that.
Good. So I'm going to jump into the next question, okay?
Okay.
So for volleyball players, like, how do you program for volleyball?
Yeah.
Is there any different from let's say basketball or table tennis?
Yes. Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. Table tennis, certainly table tennis.
Yeah. So kind of when how different it was?
Yeah. When I worked for the Chinese table tennis team, it was funny because, we would sit there and the coach would bring me over and we'd be watching Ding Ning, and she's just lightning fast. And they'd be like, Rett, we want to work on her reflexes and agility. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she has the best reflexes and agility I've ever seen. Like if I had a volleyball player that wanted to work on her reflexes and agility, I'd say, play more ping pong. Like, let's get you ping pong. But your sport is currently one of the best things in the world for being able to build agility and reaction time and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of it's a really big question, and we can take this a bunch of different ways, and at different levels it's also different, because when you're dealing with let's say Ding Ning, who's one of the best table tennis players in the world. If you're dealing with a Ding Ning, maybe the best thing I can do is just make sure that she's able to practice every day without pain. Like maybe I'm back off of trying to make her a millisecond faster at her backhand, and say that realistically the best thing I can do is have her play more table tennis, which means she never has to take time off because her shoulder hurts. And so every athlete in this way is this little puzzle. I have to figure out what's the thing that will, like, what's the smallest dose I can give you that will make the biggest difference in your playing. And for the Chinese athletes, a lot of time it's, I need to bulletproof your body, because the reason that China is so good at some of their sports is because they practice 10 times as much as every other team. And so and with volleyball, the Chinese have this player, Ju Ting. Like, don't try to take Ju Ting's squat from 100 kilos to 110. That's useless. Like, she's strong enough. Whatever she's doing, let's just try to make sure that she can keep hitting, 50 volleyballs a game and not have her shoulder hurt or her knees hurt when she lands. It's just putting a suit of armor on her. All right. But so it's always a different question. Every athlete's a little puzzle. I'm trying to figure out what I do to make them the best player. But for a lot of athletes, yes, we're looking to increase physicality. We're looking to increase vertical. I think it would share a lot more similarities, of course, with basketball, because it's the same kind of running and jumping. But actually, no, it's the same kind of jumping, similar jumping, as I think about it more. It's not the same kind of running. It's not the same kind of energy system development that a basketball player would need. And you really need to be thinking very specifically about what volleyball players need when you're programming. So volleyball players not only need to be able to jump high, they need to be able to jump high quickly. Like having a super high jumper that has to take a big, long eccentric, and maybe they have a long amortization phase where they sit at the bottom or something like that. That's not a very good volleyball player. So when I'm programming, I have to start ticking boxes again too. I have to say, all right, am I doing something to make sure that they're becoming fast jumpers? Like, am I restricting how deep they can go in a squat sometimes so that they are always maximizing the speed at which they jump? Are we doing things that are eccentric to concentric, which is like a jump, but are we also doing some things that start from the down position? Because sometimes my middle blockers have to be down and crouch and can only go up. Or when you're in defense, if you're in a defensive position waiting for a volleyball and you have to take a counter movement every time you move somewhere, that's slow. So we have to do a bunch of stuff with no counter movement to make sure that we're ticking the box of being explosive and kind of having pre-tension in those muscles so they can be like a cat and just poop that way without having to take this long, slow eccentric. From there, like so I'm always thinking about these things. I'm always thinking that, hey, a good program has to have bilateral exercises, off of 2 feet. We also have to be doing a bunch of stuff off of 1 foot. A bunch of our girls have a one-legged kind of approach. Our middle hitters have a one-legged approach. They have to be really good at jumping off their left leg, which means you have to have a hip that can hike really, really well on the right side, like a high jumper in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, those guys can out-jump off of one leg, can out-jump basketball players. It's because they practice hiking their hip all the time. And if all you're doing is squatting, or even split squatting, there's very few exercises in the weight room that replicate that hip hike that actually makes the highest single leg jumpers jump high. And so I have to be adding that to the mix of my athletes, with things like explosive step ups or single leg box jumps, things like that, that will tick that box for me. And, you know, probably the biggest difference between volleyball and basketball is just the shoulder maintenance. Like I have to have bulletproof shoulders on all my hitters. And so to do that, there has to be this heavy portion of kind of preventative exercises that help create these shoulders that just are so robust they don't get hurt. Now, I'll tell you, Eric, the way I train, I push a lot of those shoulder exercises into my warm-ups every day. So, you know, maybe I don't want to spend, I like my weight room time being maybe just one big push and a pull, you know, two exercises, a push and a pull.
Yeah.
You need way more shoulder stuff than that to keep shoulders like healthy volleyball players. So for that reason, probably every day in warm-up, there's some kind of new shoulder exercise that we're going to just burn everybody's shoulders out. Before you go on the floor, maybe we're doing handstands against the wall. You have to walk up the wall in a handstand, right? With your face facing the wall, hold it for 20 seconds and slowly walk down, right? Maybe we're doing farmer walks, holding something heavy above our head. I push as many exercises that I can into my warm-ups. So it's almost like microdosing strength. So we're doing them really, really often. I want to hit a shoulder exercise every single day, twice a day, if I can, instead of just the 3 days that we're in the weight room, or maybe even the 2 days we're in the weight room. That's simply not enough. And so I'm really into using my warm-ups to microdose strength for shoulders. That said, for volleyball players, I love a lot of straight arm strength. I don't know if I need pull-ups if hanging from a bar with scapular depression and elevation exercises or retraction exercises would be enough. I think that is enough for volleyball players. Like, I don't think you have to get a lot of elbow flexion. That's not a very volleyball specific movement. And so, and from there, gosh, I'm sorry if I'm speaking too much. I can really get into it if you want.
It's okay. Go on.
Yeah, good. All right. So the way I like to design a strength workout is with 4 exercises in a circuit, right? I call it like a quad set, where I'll tell the girls, hey, listen, we got 4 exercises in this set. And we're actually going to do 2 sets in an hour. So it takes about a half an hour to do these 4 exercises, like for 4 or 5 sets, 5 sets, hopefully. And so I'll tell them, this is the only exercise I really care about. This is where I'm going to be spending a lot of my time. This is our big power exercise. Like you can see, I've set up the jump mat under the barbell rack, and there's 50 kilos on that bar. For 5 sets, you're seeing what your vertical jump is with 50 kilos on your back, or 40 kilos, or whatever. This is the most important exercise today. Write your best vertical jump with 50 kilos on your back up on that board over there, and we're going to compete to see who can do it the best, right? That's the one I care about. After that, pretty much these other 3 exercises are just rest for this exercise. Like, I know that if I do nothing else that day but kick this exercise's ass with these girls, they're going to be better volleyball players. So, but I want them resting. I can never just have just a superset of 2 exercises, because that's not enough rest for this exercise to be awesome every time. For me, I think. So maybe in our second exercise, we're doing an upper body push or pull, something that's letting the legs rest. Maybe in this exercise, and in this third exercise, maybe I go back to something leg specific, but it's like an accessory exercise. Maybe we're doing maybe we're working on hamstrings. We don't do a ton of hamstring work, but maybe we're isolating the calves. Maybe I'm doing seated calf raises, something that's not going to hurt this exercise too much, but it's still getting some more legs. It's still seated, not too bad. A seated calf raise, which I think is a really good exercise for jumpers. And then maybe this is like abdominal exercise, or maybe it's a position specific exercise, something like that. You got to run through these 3 exercises, and then bam, you're up again for the one that I care about, and that you're entering into my computer every time, the one I'm going to be telling the coaches about at lunch that day. And that becomes my first quad set, right? Here's where I might put in like an isometric, like something like that, right? That my physical therapist freaking loves. But I like it. It's so boring. I'll try to make it really fun by doing weird stuff. I'll try to make it challenging. That's where I earn my money, is trying to make like an isometric split squat fun and interesting, reactive, whatever I have to do. that'd be my first 4 exercises. After that, we do a second block where, again, this is the one that I care about. Everyone in the gym will know this is the one we care about. And this is going to be a lower body strength exercise. That first one is power, right? I care about how high you jumped or how fast you jumped or whatever it is. This one is let's get strong. And maybe if this top one was bilateral, maybe we're doing unilateral here. Maybe this is my Bulgarian split squat. But this is going to be gnarly and heavy. This one's going to be maybe in a deeper range of motion than this was. Here, I let them choose how deep they go. Maybe here, I'm setting up the safety pins so that they have to take a squat from a really, not really deep, but a kind of defensive position specific depth. And so that's going to be the other exercise that I'm making them enter into my computer. From here, again, these are kind of 3 exercises that are rest. If we pushed in the top one, maybe this is the pull. Maybe this is a shoulder exercise that I found on Instagram or something. I don't know. Then we're getting into like this third exercise. Again, maybe this is where I get the K-box in and I'm crushing them on some eccentrics, like some overloaded eccentrics. Maybe we're doing that on the K-box, like a single leg or something. If this is double leg, whatever. I'm making sure that I'm kicking boxes every day. Do we have power? Do we have strength? Is it single leg? Is it double leg? Have I worked on a different kind of biomotor ability like eccentrics? Have I worked on isometrics? Have I made sure that I have a glute specific thing as well as oh shit, I don't have anything really that's going to beat up their glutes yet. I've got to do, a bridge here or something like that. And then here, again, we're going individual specific. This is where you love Bosu balls. Go crazy on a Bosu ball for a while. Your old coach told you the best thing you could ever do is the hip abduction machine. You hit it right then. And if you have a lot of needs, you can do it there too. Like, hey, make this program your own. I start individualizing in these spots. But generally, in this whole thing, there's these 2 exercises that I really think make my volleyball players better, and those are the ones I care about. And they're going to be a little different every week. You walk into my weight room, it's not like you know where to go first. You have to check the computer to see, all right, last time we did how high can you jump with 50 kilos on your back? Oh, it looks like this time Rhett's going to put push bands on us, and we're going to see off of one leg how heavy you can go and still be moving 1 meter per second. And that's going to be interesting, And it's just a new competition, but it's all doing the same thing. It's all forcing them, tricking them into working at 100%.
That sounds like so interesting, man. I have to be honest, like it's not just your warm-up. Your training session sounds like more interesting than mine.
No.
I have to work on that. On that.
Well, but here's the deal, Eric. Maybe mine is interesting. Maybe yours is more effective. Like,
No.
I'd like to think that mine is really good, right? I love it. I take a lot of pride in it. But there are other teams that are doing some great things, and I'm sure I would learn a ton watching what you do in a weight room. I steal stuff constantly to try to upgrade my training sessions. Plus, by the way, like as the season goes on, this gets so individual, right? Like yeah. I'm on a break right now on vacation. The first thing I did was send an email to all the girls saying, all right, tell me what you love and what you would like to add to our mix. And they're like, hey, Rhett, I know we don't do pull-ups, but I feel so good when I do pull-ups. Could I add pull-ups to this on Wednesdays? I'd be like, hell yeah, you can. I'm going to be there cheering for you to get as many pull-ups as you can, right? And so this will start getting, I know the girls will love to do this all as a group because we compete and it's a big cheering and yelling and they celebrate the shit out of it. So I know I'm going to get everybody doing that. But if there's girls in knee pain, no, they're not doing that. They have a different thing, right? They can't jump and land with 50 kilos back, right? All right, so that's fine. You go into this other little group that's doing a different exercise. But for the most part, this is the setup, and but it will get individualized. Like, if you're a setter, you don't need to be doing all of the jumping exercises. You need to, or not setter, but if you're a defensive player like a libero, if you're a defensive specialist and you don't jump very much, then screw these, jumping exercises. I'm letting you sprint outside in the timing gates. I'm setting up the timing gates for 15 meters, and I better see your time for 15 meters getting faster and faster as the season goes. Right? So, it gets more and more specific as I get to know the girls, as I get to know, as I get feedback, but I want the weight room to be a place that everybody loves showing up.
Good. That's so good, man.
Cool. Glad you like it.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the energy system. So how would you program the energy system for these athletes?
Yeah. Energy system is tricky. So energy system for indoor volleyball is not as big a deal as, so I trained, so when I was in the United States, I trained a bunch of beach volleyball players. I trained two of the guys that have gone to the Olympics a couple of times, like this guy named Jake Gibb, who's just a machine. And that is real energy system development. You got to play, 3 matches a day in, what's your Celsius, but like 40-degree heat. And, that's real energy system. For women's volleyball, it's much less. And what we're talking about with women's volleyball sometimes is when people say energy system, what they're talking about is really how do we still have high jumps at the end of a 5th set, right? So sometimes volleyball games can be 3 sets and it takes an hour and a half or not even. You can be done in an hour. Screw energy systems at that point. There's a ton of breaks. Most rallies last 15 seconds. Energy systems, come on. But when you go to 5 sets, sometimes you can be into 2 hours. Now we start talking about it. That is really difficult to replicate in a weight room it's hard to replicate how the body feels after 2 hours in 30 minutes. Like just beating them up with a jump rope and sleds and battling ropes. I can make their heart rate up and down. It's simply not the same as the endurance you have to have after 2 hours. And the only way to replicate that is for me to have a 2-hour practice before I get them where they're already tired. And then I need to create something that tricks them into working or makes them jump higher. Like I need to have circuits that involve my jump mat and my timing gates where they get penalized if their times decrease. Or not penalized, but everyone knows if their jumps decrease or they get slower. And I have to be recording and publishing so that they work their asses off. And it has to come after a 2-hour practice when they're already tired. Then I can get after it. If I was working with other sports, you design super fun circuits and when I worked with the Chinese, they still wanted to do that kind of stuff. And we would design circuits that maybe had like 5 brutal exercises, but I would try to make maybe 4 brutal, tough exercises for your heart rate. But I would try to make it like a lower body intensive exercise, and then their legs take a break while they have to do maybe an upper body like battling rope kind of thing. There's this really fun stuff that we're doing with the German team called rolling ropes, where it's pretty much jump ropes, but you're never jumping. It's all these crazy patterns that burn your shoulders out and make your heart rate go crazy. But David Weck is a guy that has these RMT ropes. I've stolen everything from him. It's awesome for energy system development in no impact environment. So it'll be like, a leg, maybe real jump rope, double unders into battling ropes, something like that, into another like no impact thing. And at that point, the last exercise would be, you've got to get over the jump mat and give me a centimeter, but like you've got to give me a 30-centimeter vertical jump or something like that. We're all competing to see who can have the biggest vertical jump after you're exhausted. And then you have to go through this for 30 minutes or whatever we think a set might last. And so it's just a lot of creativity. I don't want to do all those same exercises all the time. I'm always thinking of ways that I can get the girls' heart rates up without adding more impact to their legs. That's why I love things like these rolling ropes. I kind of like the battling ropes, but not quite as much. It's a little bit dull. But I hope that answers your question about energy system development. I actually miss that about working in other sports. Like I miss working with handball and soccer because the energy system stuff is so fun because it's just so rough. It's such a mental thing for athletes, when they have to really dig deep.
Yeah, thanks, man. That will be my last question. Thanks. So are you guys going to Tokyo this year?
So no, the German team that 2 years ago was the last Olympic qualifier for the team. So no, I joined the German team because they have so the German team did not qualify for this Olympics. They are a very young, up and coming, scrappy team, and I love projects like that. I love a building project. Like we have these like future superstar 19, 21-year-olds that I think at the Paris Olympics in 2024 really have a great chance of on the podium. But right now we're training towards, we have European championships that happen right after the Olympics. We're hoping to shock some teams and get up there this year.
Okay. I'm gonna see you on the 2024 Olympic, okay?
Yeah, perfect, Eric.
Thanks, man. The content was really good. I love what you're saying.
Cool. I love talking about this stuff, if you can't tell.
Thanks,
so
man.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
No, I appreciate you answering my invitation.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe you can do a second part.
Happy. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Sure thing.
See you, man.
See ya.
Okay, that's all for today.